filmed it inside a museum. It's about all these amazing items and objects they have. So it's a big mix of history, science, natural history.
Museums, and you open with, I think the opening line is like, museums are famously full of stuff the British stole.
It's interesting to actually have that conversation and say, well, what is being done now and how have they changed?
Did you get to go out the back?
Oh, yeah.
You got to go?
I'm so glad you asked.
Is it the Indiana Jones room with all the boxes?
Incredible.
Here we are. Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me
As we
on.
drink coffee.
Yeah.
It's an absolute delight to have you on this show as you being a host of a TV show, which you've done many, many, many times. But to have you here in this capacity is the thrill for me, Alex.
Oh, me too.
Such a thrill.
Yeah. I was like, oh, good. An interview I can look forward to.
Yeah, we work together. We have a lot in common. We work together on the news show, NTNN, NNN. Still trying to get that fucker up. But it was really fun doing political satire with you.
Yeah.
And just having an eyewitness view to how a comedy writer like yourself can operate and how fast you work and the angles you're coming up with. But not only that, when we were shooting the pilot, I loved watching the way you were handling the egos in the room. All right?
Not yours, of course.
No, but as a presenter, right?
Yeah.
I am a protected species. People don't speak to a crew of presenters generally as a collective.
Right.
Talent are referred to individually, and if they're ever rebuked or given critique or feedback, it's one-on-one. It's never in a room. And so watching the way that in those pitch meetings, the way that you were so wonderfully making it just the best joke wins every time without any personal thing in it, was just, I learned a lot.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, I love being in a writer's room. I think it's the moment when I realized that's what I wanted to do with my life, because I did a lot of comedy at uni and I loved it, but I didn't know if I could, make a life out of it, and I had worked in news. And then when I came and did the roast show with Mark Humphreys in 2014, and I sat in a writer's room. It's like 5 a.m. and we were rocking up every day with a blank slate, just having to come up with a TV show and film it and get it out to air that night. And I was like, I just had that feeling for the first time at a job, being like, this is what I have to be doing with my life. It's
really exciting.
Yeah.
I miss live stuff so much. I miss that deadline stuff so much.
Yeah.
Deadlines are really important, especially with a head like mine. If I don't give myself a deadline, I'll give myself a deadline. I have a deadline today to wrangle all the SD cards in these cameras. Because if I don't, it just goes out in the world.
Yeah. But today, I'm sure, is the last possible day that you could do it, if your brain works
well,
like mine.
But when you're working on those things, like it doesn't matter. That camera's going to go on, and Australia will be watching it at 7:30.
Yeah.
We have, whatever we figure out is going to have to work.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make it work. And there's something wonderful that happens with everybody. Audio, lights, art, catering, everyone just goes, okay, clock is ticking.
Yeah.
There's no fucking around. It's as my mum used to say, when the baby's coming, the baby's coming. You figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You figure it out.
You can't be precious about ideas. Like if you've got to throw something away, I think that's really good training. Just, you can't get too attached to any particular idea, because if it doesn't work, it has to get cut. That's fine. You'll come up with something else.
It took me a while to get to that. It took me a while to get to Best Joke Wins.
Yeah.
I wanted my idea to be best idea for a while.
Yeah.
Thought I had to get that somewhat beaten out of me. Sobriety can do a lot for you, Alex.
Yeah.
When did you start really arm wrestling your ego? How were your folks about this idea of like, no, I want to make people laugh as a job?
Yeah. They've always been fine with it, really. I think they always wanted me to have a backup. Even, I think they feel very comforted knowing that I do have a degree that's sort of collecting a lot of dust now. But
what have you got a degree in?
Media and communications.
So
okay, great backup job.
Slightly aligned.
It's not exactly dentistry or something, but it's fine.
People are always going to eat terrible food.
Exactly.
And they're not going to be able to afford to go to Thailand to get the whole thing ground down and a new seat popped in.
Yeah, but my parents, all three of the kids have all sort of done some slightly sort of airy-fairy jobs in our time. Like my brother is in radio. I did whatever I do, and my sister was in PR, and now she's a counsellor and a therapist. But yeah, there was
They're
a long
very
time
similar
where
jobs,
all
by the
our
way.
jobs- yeah,
like
I know, right?
PR and counsellor,
Yeah,
therapist.
yeah.
It's the same job, but one has less emailing.
That's right.
No, sweetie, it's fine. I understand. Yes. Yes. What about when we get to here? Can we get to here?
Yeah, exactly.
You told the most magnificent story about your brother arriving on the Story
that's
Club.
right. Yeah.
Which is on the YouTube page, and it's so beautiful the way that you so wonderfully address, and it's an in one story, it's an embodiment of why I love the work you do, because it is. Not only is it in all the, I'm going to talk a breakfast radio shit turns, but not only is it relatable, is it accessible, but it's also this beautiful critique on being a non-Caucasian person in Australia. Because if I'm a girl in Australia and her brother shows up, but you told the story about being, one of two sisters here in Australia, and then noticing a difference in your grandfather when they knew a boy was coming.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the whole the way you
it's for context for everyone listening, like the only boy, and so my grandparents had like I think 8 kids, and then out of all the cousins and all the kids that they had, my brother was the only son of a son, so the only one who would carry on the Lee last name. And
rare as it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, there'd be no more Lees in the world. And yeah, he was given absolutely ridiculous preferential treatment his whole life, and it was just sort of amusing, really, for the rest of us, because it was mostly from the.
What I loved about
family.
that story, and I would encourage people to to listen to it and watch it. Is that in a kind of little microcosm, it described the system of preference that I did not realise I benefited from.
Right.
In such a beautiful way. I'm one of 4 boys. I went to an all-boys school. So when you told that story, I was like, oh, right. It was a beautiful way of kind of putting that. I think besides working on that news show together, the other thing we have in common is that, and I haven't done it for some time, but it was a massive part of my life, you are a player of Dungeons & Dragons.
You played Dungeons & Dragons? How did I not know this?
Alex Lee, I was a card-carrying member of the Queensland Role Players Society.
Oh, my God.
From 1985 to 1989.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 11.
That's amazing.
With turning up in
Oh
a
my
hall in
God.
South Brisbane with, like, me and my big brother, and what I didn't realise at the time were like a bunch of kind of specky, unemployable men talking about orcs and goblins.
Yeah. Oh,
Every Sunday.
wow.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Do you remember what your character was?
I had
I think
many.
it's very revealing.
I can't remember the names.
Yeah.
But I was always a fan of I liked a cleric. I didn't mind a cleric. But also, I was a big fan of the video game Gauntlet at the time.
Uh-huh.
And back then, I started to always, for whatever reason, would always play Valkyrie. I'd always play the female character. And that's the same with Mortal Kombat, Tekken, anything. Whenever Mario Kart, I will always play a female character in a video game. And I'm pretty sure I played a lot of female characters in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Well, I think it's revealing. Obviously, there's this fantasy element, but you also get to design the type of person who you want to be and who you want to, who skin you want to live in. So the first character I built was this half orc. So I was the only girl on our Dungeons and Dragons group.
That is not the first time that sentence has been said.
I know. Not because we didn't want it. It was literally all our friends said, no, leave me alone. I don't want to do it. And so I wanted to be like the biggest, most powerful character in our group. And I really liked, for someone who's never gone through the world with just, sheer brute force, I really liked being able to do that. Yeah. And, my character was very wise, but very low intelligence, which is a very fun way to play people as well. Doesn't overthink anything. It's all just gut. and punching. And
There was a
it
lot of
really
dice.
fun.
There was a lot of dice in our house.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
the fold out folders. I was
Oh my God, you have to come and play with us.
I would love that.
Oh.
I don't know where it all went in the 2011 floods. All that stuff was under Mum's house, and it all went.
Saw the dice bobbing down that
Well, all
river.
the fantasy art stuff, all the kind of airbrush, dragony, not very well dressed women with big swords kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was a part of it. Yeah. So I was mad into it, but I only now when I'm speaking to you, because there's also an improv theatre thing that we share. Maybe that was the earliest part of me getting involved in the brain patterns of improvisation towards an outcome as a collective.
Yes.
When it was me and the other kids in our street or whatever at that Quirps, Queensland Role Play Society Quirps.
Shout out Quirps.
Shout out Quirps. I don't think they exist anymore. It was probably a bulletin board somewhere that still exists on some private server. They were those. Like these guys would have been they would have all had Linux operating systems. It was like they were those dudes.
Yeah.
All right. And they smelled weird because they didn't shower much. They probably all lived at home. Like I said, unemployable. And I never went on the days with the little painted things. I couldn't get that far.
Oh, yeah.
I was into the Warhammer thing.
Yeah, no.
It was all the other stuff, which but I love the tournaments. Tournaments were fun.
Yeah, right.
Played a few tournaments. That was pretty fun. But the later on, when I started doing the only improv theatre alive in Australia at the time was a thing called theatre sports. It's not that way anymore. But at a time, there were similarities. Like we're all doing this together to try to get to an outcome. When you started working in comedy, had the improv thing already been a part of it? Where did that show up?
Improv very early on. Maybe the first thing I did, really.
What drew you to it?
I had friends doing it. And it looked really fun. I watched theatre sports at the time at Sydney Uni, like the Manning Bar lunchtime theatre sports. They were superstars. And it was like the host was like a campus celebrity who would often go on to become an actual celebrity. So I think when I was watching it, Ed Cavalier was at uni and he was hosting and it was huge. Before him it was Rob Carlton. Like it was just,
previous to that, Denton,
Adam Spencer. Yeah. All these. And I was just watching it being like, oh my God, how did they, it felt like magic, like how they did it. And I was really drawn to it. I was lucky I had some friends who I did like youth theatre with who introduced me to some of the people doing it. And that was it. So I went along to the jams and started playing with the teams and the people I started doing that with. I still work with today whenever I can.
I would, even if you've never thought about doing improv theatre, I get why these theatre companies around the world do corporate training, which if you watch The Office, you've famously see them doing it in both American and British ones, because it teaches your brain a different way of solving problems.
Yeah.
And I'm not lying to you, that has been the superpower my entire career.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this right now? Because we've got to get over there.
Yeah.
And there's no script.
Yeah.
How do we get from here to there that keeps all this still making sense?
Yeah.
And that's it.
And I think I remember in those early days of doing improv having the realization that if you are standing up there being self-conscious and wondering like, what am I going to do where I don't look stupid? That is what makes you look stupid. That people can see your hesitation. It's like, well, you just got to get rid of that. You just got to do it. And I think that is like such a great like reprogramming of my brain, for being a sort of young woman at the time, being like, no, fuck it. Like, let's just go. I'm safe. I'm with the people around me. We're going to support each other. Yeah. Let's go. And
failure is funny.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Really funny.
Yeah.
If you're committed to the bit and it doesn't work, people don't care. It's still good. It's still good because you're committed. Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're there for. It's a little bit like reality TV. I have this idea that people like watching particularly car crash reality TV for the same reason they slow down at a car crash. They like to watch it because it's not happening to them.
Right, yeah.
Right, they get
so there's that immense relief.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, wow. Ooh, yeah, the car's really rolled over. But it's not their family trapped in there. So that's why they slow down.
Yeah.
And so similarly, when they're watching somebody perform, particularly in improv, where the stakes are super high, speak of a deadline, even if it doesn't work, it's, whatever comes out of your mouth will be funny.
Yeah. Because,
oh my God, they got out of it. It's that relief. And that's why people, I think, really really enjoy it. And those skills, when you're hosting a panel show like tonight at the museum, I can hear it. You know, I watched half the episode. I listened to the other half because I started watching it last night, and then I went and had a sauna out the back, and so I listened to.
Nice.
I listened to the other half.
We'll release it as a podcast.
Well, it works because because I can hear you doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear you doing the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Which is great, and it serves you really well. Tonight at the museum, I love how adjacent it is. It's a fucking great idea for a format. My first idea was like, how did this get up? Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Where did the format come from?
The idea is Adam Liaw.
Get the fuck out of here.
Who we all know, extremely brilliant polymath, and Josh Martin. So those two are TV producers. They have a production company. They make Adam's travel shows and food shows and all those wonderful things that he does. And then they had this idea to do a show in a museum. They just wanted to sort of capture that idea of that lovely curiosity and sense of wonder that you get in those places. And then luckily for me, I got brought on board really early in development as a writer. But at that stage, I was like, cool, that's great. I want to make a show. I love working on new formats and original concepts, even though it's so much more terrifying and such a bigger risk.
It's always been hard, and right now it's
something from Sweden.
It's impossible.
Yeah. So we were so lucky that. So I've been working on it from, they came up with the concept, but I've been very lucky to be working on it as a writer right from the beginning. And then when they came, it came to, we were running all these workshops and stuff and getting all these people in and testing all these games, and I was writing all the scripts and everything, and then I was hosting those workshops, and still I was like, guys, I'm pretty good at this. And then they were like, oh, do you want to do it? And I was like, of course I do. Of course.
Me?
And also I was like, just also because I felt so much ownership over what we'd created together as well. And then I was, very insistent that I would be a writer on the show too. And be involved all of the way through. So it's got my fingers in it, definitely.
I once did Adam Liaw's cooking show, and you stand there on set.
So you've done it
I've done
me
it.
Too, me too.
I've done it at his cooking show. You stand there on set, and the set is decorated with his books. I stopped counting at 27.
Yeah.
And I'm writing my
27.
27. And then it occurred to me, oh, that's right. Before he did MasterChef, he was the IP lawyer for Disney. The man knows how to leverage IP more than anyone. He has seen the greatest IP leveraging of all time, and he's gone, got it. I know how to make this happen. And empire. I'm so stoked for him.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and he's still. When I had the first Zoom chat with him when we were talking about me coming on board as a writer on the show, I had 3 of his cookbooks behind me, not on purpose, just because they're really good.
Yeah.
And I like cooking with them. And he was like, oh, nice cookbooks. I was like, oh, God, I was trying to cover them up.
Didn't mean that.
That wasn't on purpose. And he's got a really good ear for comedy as well. And he's I love people who have that really sort of granular attitude to things and being like, no, that word is not right. We need to change it to this word. And at the end of the day.
But it's so important. We were discussing upstairs when I was making you coffee about some presentation stuff that I've been doing recently and talking about, I was working on a team and we were talking about the deck and I was like, that logo flying on and off, we can't loop that. So, and I made another version of the video that didn't have the looping logo. Yeah. And they were like, no. It's like, I know it's only 3 seconds, but it's like a wrinkle on a shirt.
Yes.
If we you iron a shirt so there's no distraction. You've got to pay attention to those little details. You have to. You have to. Because if you don't, every single thing that detracts from the message you're trying to send makes it less potent. You only get one chance. Yeah. And it's super important to have those details.
Yeah. But I think you need both types of people, and I think that's why Josh and Adam work really well together, because Josh is he's just like a big friendly Labrador. He's also very intelligent, very experienced, but he's just like, yeah, great, let's get it done. And he's really driving things forward, and he's like, yeah, we'll figure it out later, like those things. And then I think as long as you have both types of people,
Yeah.
because I think when you have the people who get very obsessed with the tiny details, like I'm prone to do, like sometimes you're just not getting stuff done, or you're not moving at the pace that you need to. So sometimes, I think that's vital in TV to have both types of people.
I would say that all that detail stuff, that's all the stuff you work out until 7:29 p.m. You get all that stuff locked.
Yeah.
And then at 7:30, then you play.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's where that's where everything else comes in, because you like, this is everything that was to chance we have taken care of, and now the stuff that is to chance, that's the sparky part.
Yeah.
That's where the show becomes.
And I feel like when I'm hosting, especially with this show, so this show is set, we filmed it inside a museum. It's about all these amazing items and objects they have. So it's a big mix of history, science, natural history, anything that is in a museum. And so a huge broad range of subject areas. And I wanted to be across everything, because I wanted to be able, for conversation to be able to flow. So if I've shown, this amazing object and someone has a question about, I wonder how that got there, I wanted to be able to answer it so we could keep it talking like at a interesting dinner party or something like that. And so they kept coming up to me before the show going, stop writing. I was like, writing all these notes. And I was like, no, I'm not going to. I was like, I'm writing now so I can not look at any of this later. It's really just so I can feel confident to throw it all away and just chat. Yeah. But I need to have it all in my head.
Because I'm curious watching as well. I've only seen one episode, but I'm curious as well, going, that is an interesting microscope. I don't want to then, because I can, if I want to, reach into my phone and find out about that kind of microscope. I don't want that. I want someone on set to go, it's a kind of da-da-da-da-da-da. You have to be able to fill in those gaps to keep it flowing. Using comedy, as we're working on a satirical news show, because you've got to laugh at things that are terrible, and sometimes the best way to change someone's mind, particularly if they're biased around, I don't know, say climate, for example, if you make a joke, it circumvents their bias, and they laugh before they realise, oh yeah, and solar panels might be a good idea, because they, fucking lefty, blah, blah, blah. Museums, and you open with, I think the opening line is like, museums are famously full of stuff the British stole. Yeah. So you get it right out there from the start about how kind of odd it is that there's these glass cabinets full of dead things that we would stare at, and they were collected by people probably not maliciously, because at the time it was, no, this is really interesting. This was in the nose of a person who lives in Africa that's 4 feet tall. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. Not, I'm better than them and they are not as intelligent as me. It's like, that's just really interesting. Yeah. Yet that's hard to grapple with in 2026 when you're creating the show. How much were you able to use that, comedy to get around the stickier parts of some of the collecting that we've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, and I love, getting into those sort of, like you said, like sticky sort of areas. I feel like, what do I want to say about that? I think it's just good to have it out in the open. There's no point pretending that, museums don't have a history of, taking things that they shouldn't have, hanging on to them. And in fact, it's interesting to actually have that conversation and say, well, what is being done now and how have they changed? And the fascinating thing for me was looking at the museum's it's the second oldest museum in Australia. So it almost becomes this self-reflective thing where you can look at the things that they collected and the things that they deemed important then, and that actually tells you a lot about that time, like what the museums were interested in. And I think back then it was like, a museum is a place we can't travel the world. We're in Tasmania, but we can have things donated to us and bring them so Australians can see what the world was like. Yeah. The world's like, we've got this mummy. Like, but now today you're like, why is there an Egyptian mummy under the stairs at the Tasmania Museum and Art Gallery? Because today we think of museums as places where we reflect ourselves and who we are. And when tourists come here, you go to a museum and see like, okay, what's Australia all about? Oh, it's this. So it's completely changed in its purpose of what they do.
But it's important to be able to laugh at some of this stuff, because you can, I think we're hopefully past a lot of that stuff now of, I'm not going to go to the museum because they've got, human remains of a person from a part of the world and they've never given it back. It's like, I don't know if that means like cancelling the whole museum. Like in 1820, it was fine.
Yes.
And having that object there to reflect on how far we've come as a community is probably also of value.
Yeah, and we're learning about what the world was like in 1820. I mean, I think this particular museum, they did a big apology. They have taken a lot of things out of their collection that they have now recognised that it's not appropriate for them to have. And especially, with all the First Nations collection, I think they've done a really beautiful job of working, employing First Nations curators and really having the community be a part of that. And I think that's also important. But, it's also, if we can't laugh at it, then it's really hard to talk about it. Yeah.
The first episode, thank goodness I was laughing, because I won't spoil it for anyone, but there's a moment which talks about an absolute environmental tragedy, an extinction, which is just staggering, fucking staggering. I had no idea that this creature existed. Truly, I had no idea it existed. And then, thank goodness I was laughing, because to understand that in only such a short amount of time, maybe 150, 200 something years, this has happened.
Yeah.
And that this incredible creature, for all various reasons, doesn't exist anymore. Oh, fuck, humans are terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And you see, especially in those colonial times, like even looking at, we talk about the platypus, like they didn't. So first of all, they came to Tasmania. They imported, as we know, Tasmanians. They imported salmon and trout from overseas. They brought it here. They filled the rivers with these eggs, and then they were like, "These creatures keep eating all these delicious salmon eggs we keep dumping into their rivers." And it's like, yeah, of course they are. Like, you put them there, and so and then the way that they hunted platypus, exactly the same thing. They were like, these are a pest. They're bloody everywhere. Nearly wiped them out to extinction. Same story with whales. In the colonial times, there were so many whales in the Derwent River that people complained about the noise they made at night. They said, I can't sleep because of the whales.
The singing.
The
whale
whales.
song.
The whales kept them awake at night. Now we know, and they did a really good job of wiping them out too. And it's like, it's so hard. The hardest thing to do is kind of to muster up empathy for these people, because you just spend the whole time going, you idiots. But we had a researcher on our show, a very good friend of mine, he's a historian, and he was like, everyone at the time is doing their best, and it's true. And it's like, a lot of the time that's all we're doing too, even though we're disastrous
people
things
will
are happening.
probably
a lot of the time people are just doing the best with the information they have at the time.
Your story of the neighbours, or the people who live on the riverbanks of the Derwent River, complaining that whale song is keeping them up at night, and the local authorities going, yeah, that is terrible, kill them. And they're just going out there and harpooning these creatures and probably not even eating the meat, probably just throwing it to the dogs or whatever. And us going, oh, in 200 years, that's probably going to be someone going, he gave an iPad to a child? What? Oh. Yeah. Did he know that app was owned by... Oh!
Yeah, they did know. Yeah. But they knew all this. Why did they keep giving it to them? Yeah.
I was doing my best at the time. It seems so because at the time, you're a European, you've come all the way to Tasmania. I live on the other side of the world. I'm a frontier person. I am in charge of the universe. I am in charge of Earth. I can move mountains and change river directions and shift cities and bring entire populations of food and plants to another part of the world. Of course I can destroy this animal. I have dominion over all. Why not? And no one cared. That was fine. That was our job.
Yeah.
That was our job.
And, and so ignorant and so tragic in so many ways. And you can see that there's so many huge mistakes they made. It ended up, wiping out or nearly wiping out animals. It's very similar to, the treatment of the Indigenous people as well. And as the parallels there are really heartbreaking that there wasn't, you know, the things could have gone so differently if there was a different attitude, but that was the attitude of the times. And
it's extraordinarily, it's a very brave show in the way I've done that. I tried to get a history panel show, a quiz show up, and nobody's making anything. So I found it very difficult. But two of the people that I wanted to be my team captains, who were a part of the pitch and everything like that, were Briggs and Steph Tisdale.
Oh, yeah.
Who
both of them on our show.
Came on your show.
Yeah.
And I am kind of jealous because Adam Briggs is an incredible musician. That guy he knows what he's doing. And I'd like to think that's not the best thing he can do. He is funny and so smart and crazy big brain wise, like crazy huge wise. Unbelievable dude. And he is faster than anyone. My God. He's amazing.
Yeah.
It's very brave to have, like, okay, here we are. We're going to have this conversation and we're going to make jokes about this terrible thing that happened.
I mean, and I think that was why it was really important to have, you know, Indigenous representation. We had, you know, people like Briggs and Steph, who, as you said, are so funny on their own right. We had a Tasmanian Indigenous brilliant comedy writer, Rob Braslin, who was one of our writers. And the thing that I think really became something very important for me is that, yes, this horrible, tragic thing happened and it continues to happen, but the Indigenous, you know, the Palawa and the Pakana people are still so strong on that island. It's so different to Indigenous communities everywhere else. They have their very strong and very proud identity, and it's like they are so much more than what happened to them and the European invasion and everything else, you know, genocide and everything that happened afterwards. And so I really wanted to have that celebrated as well, and some of the, you know, incredible inventions that they made and, you know, were able to recover. All those stories, I think, were really important to tell too, and to celebrate this incredible ongoing, you know, culture that they have.
Were the audience at any point, you know, we talked about improv before. Some of my favourite moments of making that news show was when you could hear the bums puckering of when you're doing the setup of the joke, as dark as it was. Like, oh, they're not going to. Oh shit, they're gonna. Tassie's it's I reckon any city in Australia could be a different country. We're that different. We really are. And we sound different, even though we think we don't. We do. Adelaide only has a 25-letter alphabet. They don't say the letter L.
No.
It's just a W.
Did
the audience go with you? Or the audience, any moments where they're like, any of that going on?
I think there was. I think they were very happy to be there. I mean, there's never been a panel show filmed in Tassie before. So, you know, normally in Sydney, you know, you got a studio show, you've got to be basically bribing pensioners to come along to it or something, or uni students being like, just leaving little breadcrumbs of something, you know, pad thai or something to bring them over to Ultimo. And in Tassie, they were so keen. The tickets sold out straight away.
Wow.
You know, it felt like, you know, a big night out, 'cause it's something that hadn't been there before. And then, you know, soon they realised, like everyone does, that studio panel records go for 5 times longer than the show, and it's very long and tedious. But there was great enthusiasm from the audience, and I think they were just thrilled to have their stories, you know, being told, and objects. The really nice moment was the live audience. So the first game of the show, which we do every week, is we show it artifact or an object from the museum, and then we tell 2 stories, and there's a true one and a fake one.
Put a label on it.
And then we tell them which one is the correct label. And when the audience knew straight away that a story was bullshit, sometimes it gave it away because they were like, ha! You know, collectively, when someone started reading it, because they knew exactly what that thing was, even though it would be a complete mystery to anyone who didn't grow up in Tasmania.
Here's where you go, like, I don't know who's doing warm-up, but they're going to have to get in there. They're just like, guys, you may know, but you
we had to do a bit of that.
Audience warm-up's a hard job. It's a hard job to do. When you're making a panel show, when you are on those kind of longer days, it can be difficult to keep the keep the energy up as you go through the day. Did you have any games you would play just with the audience?
I usually let the comics, because we always had a panel of comedians. You know, they just love an audience. They can't help themselves. So like, as soon as the cameras were off, they would, they were usually so keen to just like jump up and have a chat. And I wanted them to feel like, that they were part of the show. And I said that to them at the beginning of the show. I said, you're not here to watch a show. Yeah. You are a part of this show. And it's so true. It's like, there's no point having if they're not going to be giving us everything. Yeah. So it was really, letting them understand that they're just as much a part of the sort of fabric of the show.
What's it like? Sometimes when you go to a shop, like when I'm buying school shoes for Wolf, he's gigantic, and I say, "Oh, do you have these ones in a size big enough for him?" And they go, "Let's check in the back." Did you get to go out the back?
Oh yeah.
You got to go.
I'm so glad you asked.
Is it the Indiana Jones room with all the boxes?
Incredible. Now these huge warehouses off-site. So in any museum's collection, only 3% of what they have is on display.
3
at any time. And because the remit of TMAG is so big, it's a museum and art gallery, they have everything. And the really beautiful thing that I liked about it was that the contemporary collections, so one of the things we have on the show is looks like this sort of bodgily done cardboard red post box. And you're like, we saw that. They're going on a tour of their offsite. We're like, what is that? And they said, oh, that is a Australia Post box costume that was worn by one of our staff in the marriage equality protests. And so we thought that, they saw that and they said, that is a piece of history worth keeping. And it's like those things is really, we were just like, oh, I love that. I love that having a show set in a museum is also about what is worth collecting today that is going to tell future generations of what we're like. And there was so much good stuff. There was like 20 different rocking horses, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do a rocking horse thing at one stage, or like different mannequins. And the other beautiful thing about TMAG is that it's a working museum. So it's not just about, I always thought the people who worked in a museum were just preparing things for display or collecting things for display. And in fact, it's actually a sort of a scientific institution. So they showed us to this room where there were these scientists scrubbing a dolphin's skull with formaldehyde because they were, doing some research about their eating habits and they were trying to preserve that. Or we had, there's this big fridge out the front, like, you'd see in a butcher or something. And they were like, oh yeah, that's where people donate dead animals they've collected. They just shove them in this big fridge. And they're like, oh yeah, we're doing a thing about seabirds. So we've been like trying to see how they have been killed and try and get a collection of which ones are getting electrified. Electrocuted on power lines, so we can figure out what we need to change to preserve that. So
if there's a more difficult job to convince your parents as a good idea than comedy, it's taxidermy.
Yeah.
Because there's there's like 8 taxidermists in the country.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I'm full time at TMAG, and then there's Jeff up in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And we split the rest of the stuff for Brisbane.
But I think when you're like the type of person who's like, oh yeah, I sort of do a little bit of everything, even though the things that I do are all very similar. But someone who meeting people who have such a specific knowledge base and or set of skills is so nice. Like, I just want to talk to them all day. Like, one of the people we had on the show, because we get experts to come on and talk to us, he is a lichenologist, and he is one of the top lichenologists in the world. And to talk to him about his passion for lichen, I could have done it for 6 hours. It was incredible. And you'd think it could be one of those boring things in the world, and finish a conversation with him. And not only do you start seeing lichen everywhere, but you're like, there's no life without lichen. Lichen are the only...
There's your T-shirt.
Right? Yeah. They're the only organisms that, first of all, they're not a plant, they're not an animal, they're like this symbiotic relationship between two things. And they're the first colonizers of anything. So, like, if there's a rock in the middle of a desert, the first thing that grows on that is lichen, and there's nothing else until lichen grows on it. And I was like, oh my God, I love lichen. Like, it was just those moments that, you know, were so special to have on the show, and just, you know, those discoveries as someone who doesn't get to deal with those things, I think is really, really delightful. To learn about.
Now
You got to. I'll give you his number, man.
Bro, I want to go down. I tell you what, because I'm nerdy for the meta organization of such a place. Like pre-digitization, all this stuff had to be catalogued, and there's systems and ways and special bookcases that hold the special cards with a special machine that writes a special thing and prints the special tag, and there's only one of those tags and the other one, and this is the exact way you can find it in some very, very special chest of drawers which has drawers this thin, but there's 100 of them because that's where you keep 1,000 shells. But it's that one that came from Lady Musgrave Island. You know, I love that. I love how they. I'll go find that for you, because they if you know, the curator character is made fun of often in Slow Horses. Famously, you know, there's the you know, the curator, the lady who's in charge of the archive. The person who's downstairs, like the lady in Ghostbusters, like the curator person. But they're the ones, man. They're the ones that can find the thing that you really need. And
it's something very comforting about seeing these institutions that have these people that are, you know, that they're collecting these things that are important, and that they're collecting an objective truth, you know, like that yes, this is every single plant that it grows in Tasmania, and we have a collection of that. And you know, for me, that's like, okay, there are people who are spending a lot of time making sure that we have this information, because so much information today feels just like it's all in the fucking cloud.
But
you know,
also
it's not real. It's like, oh, this stuff is real.
When
it's
you show
really
that,
nice.
When you show that last peak, the only single remaining part of the body of that creature that passed, like, here's every single plant today. 10 years from now, that might be that collection might be bigger than every single plant we've got.
Oh God, that's dark.
But that's what the museum is.
Yeah.
And that's also why it's really important to collect this stuff and look at it. It's so fucking important.
And the beautiful, especially in the herbarium where they have got this collection, it is a system that started in, you know, the 17 or 1800s. You know, it's something that. And it's the same, they use the same cataloguing system. So he's like, you know, he showed us one leaf of a pine tree, and, you know, it's in this catalogue the same way that everything else they have. He pulled it out and he said, whose name is that? And it's like, oh, that's Joseph Banks. Like, oh, that was just, you know, Jay Banks collected that, and that is a part of the collection now. And it's like, wow,
part of his excellent voyage across Bass Strait, our next door neighbour, in the back of their yard, there's what we call a Banksia. However, there's probably between here and the coastline, which is, I don't know, less than a kilometre that way, probably 17 different kinds of tree we call Banksia. But that's all the actual names for them we lost. You know, and it's important as well when we go to museums to have a look and go,
what are the mistakes that
when it comes to objects, I think one of my favourite objects in any museum that I've seen in Australia is in Queensland, and it is a giant squid in a tank of formaldehyde, and it's amazing because its eyeball is this big, like a dinner plate, and it was pulled out of the ocean, like somewhere off Moreton Bay, I think, and it's incredible. It's fucking humongous. I would love to see that. And it's at just the right size for you can hold your kids up. And the eyeball is bigger than their head. Like, you talk about, I'm never going to get to 800 metres below the ocean. I'm never going to see a giant squid. No. But there's one. There it is. What objects, what things. Okay, firstly, what's your favourite taxidermied animal that you saw?
Ooh. There's a really lovely little wombat that they call the Zombat. And it's because it is it's an example of something that was taxidermied at the time in the 1800s, and someone had killed a wombat, they'd sent it over to England to be taxidermied by someone who had never seen a wombat before, never even heard of a wombat. Oh, wow. So they taxiderm it in an upright position. So it's standing on its two hind legs like this. It's got his two little arms up, and he's like sort of got this little crazy little scowl on his face. So it looks like this adorable little predator.
Sounds like the
It
origin.
looks like a zombie. Yeah,
it sounds like the origin story of the drop bear, to be honest.
Right, yeah, probably. I wonder if it is. Yeah. So they were just so ignorant, and they were like, "No, I'm right. I'm English." Like, blah, 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 like put it together, and they've got it recreated, and it's in the museum as part of their collection now. It's like, yeah, look how wrong we got it. Like, check this out, which is really lovely. And
what about a thing? Like, well, not an animal. That was your favorite dead animal. What about a particular object, a thing?
Oh,
hard question.
I mean, some of the hard.
Give me a top
I've
three.
Sworn not to give any. All the really good items are in. Put a label on it, and because I want people to play along at home, I can't give any of them away. So I'll have to think of something else.
Well, let me as a nerd and when I'm in, it's in Hobart.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd for Antarctic exploration, and so I visit Mawson's hut, and it's. I can't tell you how many times I've read South from Shackleton, and Mawson's one of the greats. And to sit in that hut and just go, oh, it was this big.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough job to do.
Yeah.
All right. What about the Antarctic stuff? What was your favorite Antarctic thing that you can talk about?
I loved they've got the apple huts that are on display. So they're used. I think they were made by a Tasmanian company in like the 60s or something, and they were for the Antarctic researchers, and they just look like something that would be in like a Facebook office. It's like a little pod or something, you know.
Oh, wow.
And they're just these adorable little red round plastic things. And they've got little round windows. They look like they're out of a fairy tale or something. They're so strange, but this is what people would spend months and months in, and they're tiny. It's smaller than this, definitely smaller than this studio. It's probably about the diameter of this desk.
Enough to sleep in.
Yeah. And then they're still being used today. It's one of those things where they're like, oh no, we got that right. Like, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
But the Antarctic stuff is crazy. I had no idea how much Australia was involved in all that.
Yeah,
those
huge.
early things. Because I'd heard of all those stories and of Shackleton and stuff, and just the isolation of, there's I didn't even make this into the show, but Shackleton went out. His boat got stuck in the ice.
Yeah.
There was a whole other group of people whose only job it was to go and leave supplies for them. And they killed themselves. Eventually a lot of them, I think nearly all of them died, leaving these supplies out for people who would never come, because there was no way of telling them, oh no, Shackleton's boat is stuck.
Yeah.
He's not going to make it. And so they were like, no, we've got to finish our mission. We have to go and leave this food out. And they all died doing that. It's like, the tragedy and the isolation of just being there. Yeah. The thought of being so out of contact with anyone else is so unthinkable today.
And meanwhile, Frank Hurley's doing like glass plate, silver, 8x10 huge photographs in this gigantic box cameras big as his desk of emperor penguins, and developing them while the ice floe is crushing this ship. It's fucking nuts stuff, man. It's like that's proper edge of the earth exploration stuff. The last time I think humans have ever really done it. It's you were down there for long, down in Tassie?
Not that long. I had a couple of trips beforehand, but we filmed it all because we took over the museum. We had to get it all done pretty quick, so we had 8 eps, and I was there for 11 nights. So we really just smashed it out.
The kids come?
Yeah, no way.
I love it. Mummy's got to work.
Absolutely not. I couldn't. I actually am so grateful that we were not in the city where I live making that show, because we did think about it. I was like, oh, I'll come down. Like, I'll miss the boys. And then when it came closer, I was like, absolutely not. You're not coming. Sorry. Like, I just need to be 100% focused on this. And I want to think about it from the time I go to bed, when I wake up in the morning. I just need to be a completely selfish being.
When I wake up in the morning, at a time of my choosing.
Exactly.
Behind a blackout curtain with a knock at the door saying, here's some coffee.
So good. People were like, oh man, you must be so tired. I was like, not really. No one's jumping on my head at 5 a.m. I'm having a great time. I was like, I have to work for a couple of hours. Sure. Like, no job is harder than parenting, as we know.
You've making TV, making panel shows is making anything TV wise or entertainment wise in this current media environment is difficult. I've made shows on ABC budgets. Difficult. You can still make it, but you make them when you get to it's like the difference between flying Scoot and flying Emirates. You're like, well, we're still going to get there, but there's a shower on this one. It's pretty good when you go network or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've had the experience of working on gigantic budget things. You've worked on like major motion pictures.
Yes.
While pregnant. What's it like? I mean, I've had the experience of working on network television in America, and I was like, oh wow, like when you first step onto one of those gigantor films. I think you did was it Gyllenhaal or Gosling? Which one was it?
I've only done two, and that one was a Gosling and one was a Wahlberg. So
oh right,
yeah, and both times, and this is I think testament to my wonderful range as an actor. Yeah. I played a newsreader and a newscaster.
Hang on, right before, after uni, was it SBS overnight? What job did you do?
Yeah, it was newsreader on ABC. Yeah. So news reporter, news presenter has been what Hollywood has deemed me appropriate for, which I'm very grateful for. But I've never seen anything like it before.
What's it like when you show up?
When I just went for a costume fitting and they'd taken over like some place in, I don't even know what it would have been, in Homebush, and I was being taken through to meet with the costume designer, and this is a one scene role, very small. But still, I was meeting, with this American lady, and we had a full fitting. But just before that, so this movie was The Fall Guy, by the way, if anyone's seen it. And there was just this warehouse-sized room. It was huge. It was probably like 25 meters long, 25 meters wide. And the whole thing, I just stuck my head in, was full of Hawaiian shirts.
Yes.
And that was the scale of it. And when you see it in the movie, you're like, oh, that was like a tiny scene where a lot of people were wearing Hawaiian shirts. But it was like, that was the scale of it. We had this costume fitting. I tried on a million different outfits. I was not, when I auditioned, I was not, maybe I was a tiny bit pregnant, but not showing. And then by the time it came around to filming my scene, I was like about to pop. So they did not get what they originally hired. So I was trying on various different gigantic trench coats and things. And then suddenly there was the costume designer got this phone call, and she was like, I have to go. I've got to find a minion suit for a dog, and the one we have isn't right. And she had to leave. And it's just like, what is this world? And then, and getting to filming it, it was they had shut down all of the Opera House. We're filming in the Opera House steps. And they had all these pyrotechnics out on the harbour on these big barges ready to go. And they were all waiting on the cue from me to get my line right for all this stuff to go, because I was presenting this big final scene in big, climactic moment.
So when you say pyrotechnics, we're not talking about fireworks New Year's Eve. We're talking about just fire explosions, kaboom.
Yeah, I think it's speedboats crashing
Tropic
into
Thunder,
each other.
Kenny Powers hitting the buttons. Yes.
Yeah. And I was so nervous. First of all, I got there at like 3 p.m. I was filming it by the time they got to me at 4 a.m. They had to wait for the cinema. What's the on the harbour cinema thing to finish before they could shoot me? And then everything was running late, so it was 4 a.m. I'm so tired, so pregnant, and then the director comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, I've rewritten your scene. Can you?" And then he sort of had half scrawled this thing. Like in the dark, so it was barely legible. And then he was like, it's going to be something like this. And so we were like improvising lines, because I was like, well, that's not really like having, I don't think he knew that he'd gotten someone who was an improviser who used to read the news. So he got very lucky that night, I think. I think we saved a lot of money on explosions, because I was like, oh, no, that doesn't really work. Like, I think it'll be something like this. And we tried a few different versions and managed to get it out. But it was the craziest.
But what you just said is, was it Del Close? I think he said it. And I've heard Seth Meyers. I've heard Seth Meyers say it as well. And it's true for me, and I'm sure it's true for you. You'll use everything you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
you will be prepared to use everything you'll ever know. Don't just think, oh, this is this kind of job, I won't use anything like that. You can't ever discount the stuff you learn along the way or you pick up along the way. It will all be ready to deploy all of it at any point, and you'll just add value beyond what people can possibly expect. I mean, if you were just someone that they saw on a casting sheet who, I don't know, had maybe done some modelling campaigns and stuff like that, but had never acted, and suddenly you got new words, shit's hitting the fan. No one's hitting go on the kaboom. But you're like,
yeah.
And that's amazing.
I know. I felt it's funny because sometimes you think, oh, I should have. I wish I discovered that I wanted to, do comedy earlier in my career, and I didn't do this whole sort of thing where I got distracted by doing journalism, and then you do something like that, and you're like, oh no, that was worth it. All those things. I think if you come to things in a roundabout way, or let yourself sort of go on some weird side paths, it's always
follow the things. If you can
Yeah.
find some way of keeping money coming in the door to keep the lights on and the fridge full, go and do stuff that's interesting to you, because it'll make you interesting to other people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, true. If you got success straight away and you never had to like do any other weird random jobs, you'd be so boring.
I just fucking hell. It's only okay because he said it. I hosted a thing for, it was a famous moment when Robbie Williams came on Channel V. It was at the time when my friend Yumi was auditioning for a job on Channel V.
Yeah.
And he turns to her off camera. He says, "Oh, so you're auditioning, are you?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm auditioning." He goes, "I didn't audition once. I got it." Referring to the one time I auditioned, which was for Take That. That was the only time I've ever had to ever got the job.
Yeah. That's so good.
He's him, and he can do that.
Yeah.
What are your kids like when you go to the museum with your kids? Are you like going, because I'm a card carrying member of the Maritime Museum. Wolfie's like, Dad, are we going to the submarine today?
Yeah. We're a big museum family. Yeah. My both of them love the museum. It's just a magical place.
And it's free.
It's free. It's so good. Yeah, we're so lucky to have the ones that we have. All around the country, there's some incredible museums. We love it. I love, obviously dinosaurs, but my eldest son is really into rocks and minerals, so I love it. It feels like such a cheat code when all the other kids on a rainy Saturday are up at dinosaurs, and you're like, we're going down to rocks, and we're going to be the only ones there. And it's so nice. I think it's really nice. One thing about having kids is that it forces you to sort of open your brain up to learn about things that you had sort of shut off because they weren't part of your identity.
Yeah.
And some of them I wish I didn't know about. I know I can name any construction vehicle.
Yeah.
But I don't really want that information, but I've got it now.
You can point on the map to where the Mudaborosaurus comes from.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I know, buddy. I know where he is. But it is a testament, because Wolfie and I have been talking a little about drinking water, because he's kind of figuring out when Georgia went away to Indo, she came back unwell, and we talked it was from the drinking water, and that sometimes when we go to Fiji, we don't brush our teeth with the water there, and that it's important in our country that we spend money on making our drinking water safe. And I love that it's important in our country that we spend money to make an art gallery free and a museum free.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay to get in.
Yeah.
And it's so freaking important that we do that for all the reasons we described earlier. It is a place that we reflect on where we are, where we've been, where we might go. Museums often have a reciprocal membership, like I think we ran into you one day at Melbourne Zoo, when we were with Wolfie.
That's right.
Because we have a Taronga Zoo membership.
Yeah.
And so we got in for free.
Oh, nice.
Now that you've done, this To Know That Museum in Tasmania, can you just like round the world museum free pass AAA access?
God, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
I haven't received it in the mail yet. But we'd hope if we get to do other seasons, we'll go to different museums.
Yes.
And do a different museum each time would be the dream.
That Brisbane one's pretty good.
Yeah, oh God, I got to see this squid.
It's freaking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a gigantic cuttlefish as well.
Oh God.
It's bigger than, like, if I curled up in a ball, it's that big.
Yeah.
Could you imagine scuba diving and coming across a cuttlefish? Like a cephalopod that can change colours with intelligence, and I mean, I know we eat them, but these things are fucking smart.
God, they're so smart.
They're a completely different part of evolution to anything that exists. They are alien. I'm fucking too nerdy for my own good systems. Alex Lee, it's a bit tricky. Well, I couldn't be more happy that you got this up, because it's a very, for all the reasons we discussed, it's a wonderful way to look at our country where it is at a time when we really kind of need to look at where we are and where we've been and where we're going. And what you've just described about the way that they've adjusted the collections and things like this, and it's probably the same for museums all around the country, is that we may feel despair because we look in the streets right now as we're recording this, there's people getting hit in the streets, people are punching each other. It's not great. Yet, if you look back, not to be too Hans Rosling about this, but it's bad, but it's getting better. And it's way better than it was. Way better than it was. And that's something that's important to reflect on, that we've come so far. We will still have moments that suck, and we will still get things wrong. We will still go back in 100 years and go, you fucking watch the whales?
Yeah.
Hang on. You know, people pay money to buy a CD, or people pay money to pay for whale song that they can hear so they go to sleep now. Like, they pay a meditation app to play them whale songs so they can go to bed now. And you had that.
You killed them because they were too noisy.
You harpooned them.
Yeah.
Because you wanted your peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Like,
they'll be saying to us, you put helium in balloons? What were you doing? You needed that for the medical equipment, and you put it in balloons.
It's a finite
for
resource.
Instagram.
It's a finite resource.
We don't know how to make that.
We can't make it. It will run out.
Helium stresses me out so much. I should have brought it up. Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast that I can't wait to do, Alex. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
So rad.
So good to chat.